Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees online. Thank you very much for your kind presence as we continue to associate with Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3, Chapter 1, verses 13 to 24, the status quo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Thapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Pastatyadistarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Sarva Shastra Piyusha Sarva Vedeka Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokai Triprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dando Didaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churn from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O light breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has risen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actual Krishna who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshasharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namaste. O Srimad Bhagavatam, after respectful obeisance unto you. By reading you one attains transcendental bliss, for your silvers rain pure love good upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone, for you are incarnation of Lord Krishna. Madekabandhu Mad Sange Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namastute. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisance unto you. Asadu sadhu tadai nattini chochatara kahanamunchagata chinmam premna ritkata yospura. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O giver of saintliness or unsaintly, O uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest, Mahatma Throat, accompany pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadyasya yathonvayaditarataschalte swabhignaswarat tene brahma hidayadi kavaye muyanti yatsuraya tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatrati sargo mrisha damna swena sada nirasta kuakam satyam param dhimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destruction of manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed in illusion, as one is bewildered by illusory representation of water seen in fire, land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifest. By the reactions of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in transcendental abode, which is forever free from illusory presentation of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Prayana Upaisha Sabya Kalavismin Yuge Jana Mandaso Manda Matayo Manda Bhagya Upadrata. O learned the one in this iron age of Kali many but short lives, the quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all always disturbed. Narayan Namaskritya Narachevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Savaipum Saparodharmo Yato Bhaktira Dokshaja Ahituke Pratita Yatma Suprasiddhati. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service. unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yogo Prayojita Jana Yatyusavairagyam Yanam Chayad Ahitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of God as Shri Krishna, one immediately causes knowledge and detachment from the world. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yat gnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma Bhagavan. Shru Shrushdananasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees completely free from all vice, great service done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shranvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Ryadantastoya Bhadrani Vidunati Suritsatam. Shri Krishna, the person of Godhead, who is Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, the benefactor, the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotees, develop the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues when properly heard and chanted. Nasta Prashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatutama Slokir Bhaktir Bhaviti Nishtiki. By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service under the person of the Godhead who is praised with transcendental songs established as an irrevocable fact. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharmam Parinishtaya Janma Labha Para Parapumsam Ante Narayana Smriti, the highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duties. Remember the personality of God at the end of life. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udariti vrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. A person who has broad intelligence, where they be full of all material desires, without any material desires or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of God. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing Bhagavatam based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna, and welcome again to everyone online. Thank you very much for your kind association and presence. Let us cover any questions or feedback anyone has from our last session that we started, third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1. M.O.T. Radhika Nalini Kanta Prabhu says, Hare Krishna, anything that satisfies the Supreme Lord is also Krishna. Example, Shri Vrindavan Dham. So there's an interesting point by Srila Prabhupada. Anything that satisfies Krishna is not different from Krishna. And we shared how Srijit Mahaprabhu's philosophy of Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva reconciles the oneness and the difference. That yes, the temples of Krishna are not different from Vrindavan Dham. At the same time, Vrindavan Dham is different from the temples. And from different angles and different perspective, one can appreciate and understand that. Vidura left not because of a family misunderstanding. He wanted to meet Maitri Rishi. What seems the external reason was not the reason. Yes. And this is a very important lesson that we need to glean from the Bhagavatam. We cannot take things from face value. In the material world, because people in the material world are attracted and repulsed by externals, this is generally how they conclude and perceive their life events, what seems to be in front of their eyes. Vidura could appreciate and understand a deeper intention behind an external family misunderstanding, because he was a pure devotee of Krishna and he was in tune with Krishna's frequency. And because he was in tune with Krishna's frequency, Maya's frequency, which was revealing one aspect, did not interfere his picking up Krishna's frequency of what Krishna desired for him. So like that in our life and in this world, we may not, and I can speak for myself, necessarily, I may not be, and I'm not able to connect to Krishna's frequency, to appreciate and understand what Krishna's plan is. But at least I should not just take what is on the face value of all our events as the all in all, and then, react on that, interact with that, take sides, go into this whole whirlpool of trying to be the controller, trying to be the teacher, trying to, decide what's best, what's not best, etc. We will find in life many events like that. In our own family lives, on the world stage, etc. We need to at least put a pause button to say, I wonder what Krishna's plan is. And yes, if one is able to tune into Krishna's plan, one will know. Otherwise, best to keep chanting Hare Krishna. The message of Godhead is like nectar for the devotees and opposite for non-devotees, example, sugar candy and jaundice. We also have some jaundice, and by regular hearing of the Bhagavatam, this jaundice-like disease will be removed. We do not want even an iota of jaundice, not a fraction, minute fraction of jaundice. We want to be completely freed of all impurities. And when we are freed from all impurities, then Krishna consciousness, hearing and chanting, devotional service is pure nectar for the soul. In the beginning, we need to force ourselves. In the beginning, we need to try to regulate ourselves. Just like we have these sessions every Saturday, we regulate ourselves. This is what I need to do. And all other events, yes, if there's a festival, we postpone, but otherwise, this is what we do. Like that, we need to try to consume the glories of the Supreme Lord through our ears. This is how we drink the nectar. And it's important to drink the nectar through our ears. Why? Because that's where the connection lies to the heart, where we are. And it's not, if one is jaundiced, then you're looking at the time and saying, it's like already 30 minutes, can't he stop? But when that jaundice is getting removed, you don't want to stop. When one is pure, like the sages in Namisharanya, like Sukadeva Goswami, never slept. 24 hours a day. It's hearing the Bhagavatam. It's going on. It's never tiring. The sages, they're not tiring. Why? Because this is nectar. For the soul, there is no exhaustion for the soul. The exhaustion is on the material plane. So we need to try to transcend, at least in terms of hearing and chanting, we want to develop a taste, such a strong taste that we can keep hearing again and again, or like develop a taste for chanting that we can chant again and again and again and not tire. This is how we can measure advancement. All universal powers was behind the Pandavas, and Dhritarashtra had empty pious account and didn't accept the absolute truth as he was spiritually blind, example of the owl. He didn't accept that what Vidura said first because of bad association and attachment. But when that was lost and Vidura came again, then he could hear. Nice. Yes. Our attachments, bad association will stop us from good advice. So Dhritarashtra, when he lost everything, then the instructions made sense. But those same instructions before did not make sense. He still had hope in the material world. He still had hope, yes, my sons, they will rule, they will be the emperors, etc. So this attachment and a satsanga tyag, a Vaishnavachar, bad association, are very, very detrimental. Shamananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we have the association of these wonderful personalities of the Srimad Bhagavatam like Vidura, from whom we can learn so much to help us on the path. This is our good fortune. We are really thankful. Yes. We are presented with so many personalities through the Bhagavatam. And here is the most amazing aspect, that these personalities are eternal. And we can meet them. And these personalities, they take part in the pastimes of the Lord again and again and again. This is one aspect when people say, well, how can you prove Krishna consciousness is real? Well, it may be difficult to prove everything is real if we're not on that level of eligibility to appreciate the proof. But if you're really serious and want to prove everything, then just raise your consciousness to Krishna consciousness. And most people don't want to accept the challenge. They want the proof without eligibility. And if you make yourself eligible to raise your consciousness to Krishna, then guess what? You will see and meet all these personalities. Krishna can even allow you to see these events happening as transcendental television live. And this way you will realize, wow, this is the real stuff. This is real. This is true. So yes, as we on this path and we are progressing, purifying our life, then we can look forward to revelation, Krishna revealing, not because we desire that. Our desire is that we want to serve Krishna. And if we want to serve Krishna, we want to see Krishna. We don't want to serve behind a curtain, behind a big curtain wall, we just see some light or some, no, we want to interact with Krishna, like how the devotees are interacting with Krishna. So that level of interaction, that level of perception, awareness will come, but it is not cheap. We need to be serious and we need to apply ourselves in Krishna consciousness. Bafana Prabhu says, how come Vidura takes so much self-punishment after Duryodhana's insults? So as we mentioned, from one perspective, he's getting insulted. And we will cover in the purport. Prabhupada is going to share with us. But on another level, He's seeing Krishna's hand. So we may be seeing and feeling sorry for Vidura. Oh, shame. How can he be put in that situation? Poor Vidura. I want to go first, Duryodhan. So we're feeling sorry but Vidura is in ecstasy because he's seeing a greater plan. And if we ask the question, how come Vidura takes so much self-punishment after Duryodhan's insult? It's because he's taking Krishna's plan. And for a devotee to take Krishna's plan is the greatest desire that brings the greatest bliss. Like Srila Prabhupada taking on so much austerity, difficulties, challenges to come to the West. Why? Such an elderly age. Why go through that endeavor? Because it gives Krishna the greatest pleasure. And even though that journey is austere and difficult, with 2 heart attacks, going to America, Prabhupada's joy knows no bound because he's giving Krishna pleasure. So again, to not be fooled with the externals, we need to go a little deeper, see what is the inner meanings. Considers himself less pious. We're going to go through today's purports. And goes to pilgrimage, even though Krishna was still around here on earth, could not go to him. So when we mentioned a little about that last week. And even though Krishna was there, he didn't go to Krishna, but he went on pilgrimage. Why? Again, the inner meaning, the reason why. We're going to cover that today. I have a strongly love his position to be always ready to leave palace. Yes. That's very magnetic to a man who holds such high values, negotiable, and this reconciles my question somehow. He knew worldly affection can never satisfy him. He thanked Duryodhan instead of being sorry. Was really no part him that was affected. Yes. So, and because of his elevated Krishna consciousness, he was able to perceive it like that. And true, we should know that everything in this material world is temporary. And just like Vidura, if we have to leave, and one day you're going to have to leave everything, your friends, family, material bank balance, situation, everything will have to be left. So if that is the case, we should be prepared, not prematurely, not irresponsibly, but with spiritual maturity. We should be ready to embrace the future. Srila Bhakti Charumaharaj told one disciple who was leaving, he was at the point of dying, and Maharaj called him on the phone. And Maharaj told him, initiated disciple, Maharaj told him that you have been practicing Krishna consciousness all your life for this moment. Don't turn back. Look forward. Look forward to meeting Krishna. Do not turn back. Go forward. So Vidura also, when he saw this was an opportunity. Same thing with Maharaj Parikshit. When the news of the curse that he's going to die in 7 days came to him, he didn't see it as a curse. He saw it as Krishna's opportunity. Krishna is making the arrangements. How wonderful. And we see, yes, it was wonderful. He was able to spend 7 days, 7 nights just hearing about Krishna. How glorious. Same thing with Vidura. How glorious. So yes, we should become attached to Krishna. And if Krishna, while we in this world and Krishna is providing the facilities for us to engage in his service, we use that. But when the time is right, time comes, we should not keep these attachments as what? Let's see who remembers. In the science of self-realization, what does Srila Prabhupada call these attachments? What analogy does he use? And what does he call them? There were like 5 different of these elements or aspects which does something. Anyone can remember? Or if you can think of an analogy. Even Srila Bhakti Siddhanath Maharaj gave that analogy. Heavy stones, okay, that could be an analogy that these aspects, they're like heavy stones that you're carrying. Binding chains, right? So they could act as binding chains, heavy stones. You want to go from point A to point B. It's easier without heavy stones. It's easier without binding chains. It's easier without baggage, unnecessary baggage, not just useful baggage, but unnecessary baggage. So Srila Prabhupada gives the example that these are like anchors. And like a heavy anchor chain that stops the boat from moving, attachments, bodily concept of life, these things keep one down. Attachment to, country, nation, this keeps one anchored. And if you don't pull the anchor out of a boat and you row and row and row, you're working, you are rowing, but you ain't going anywhere. So these anchors can be stumbling blocks. All right, then Bafana continues, the insult gave him a chance for solitude. I realized that solitude is a sanctuary place where really progress of one character evolves. Garuta Vyata, without being sorry, found this consciously so powerful. Are we on our way to such a personality traits? Someone significantly close asked me if ever get angry. So yes, we can get angry for those things which displeases Krishna. Like Prabhupada explained, protecting the Vaishnavas or attack against Vaishnavas, we become angry against that. Hanuman, Arjuna. So they used anger in a proper way. But yes, we also, by Krishna consciousness and by applying the process of Krishna consciousness, we will also develop these traits. Why? Because it's not a question of development. It's a question of renovating. It's a question of revival. It's a question of uncovering the dirt. As soon as you uncover the dirt, these qualities manifest, a part of the soul's nature. It just seems like these qualities are far, far fetched because we're so covered. But otherwise, It's the nature of the soul. These are qualities that are naturally born part of the living entity. Vidura understood Maya, supreme energy, external energy of Krishna, energy of the Lord, and instead he chose the internal energy of the living devotional service, believed that this was the shield to decide on action to take. Yes, Prabhupada is going to touch on this in today's purports. Let us proceed and we'll cover those points. So we're going to be covering Vidura's pilgrimage, text 13. Sa esha dosha purushadvi aste garhan pravishto yam apatyam matyam pushnan pushna si krishna vimukta gata rishi tyaja swa shaivam kulako shalayam. You are maintaining offense personified. Vidura is speaking to Dhritarashtra. Duryodhan as an infallible son, but he is envious of Lord Krishna. And because you are thus maintaining a non-devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. It's interesting when the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra were being born, and importantly, Duryodhan, there were many ill omens in the sky. And when Duryodhan was born, it was like super ill omens. And Vidura came to Dhritarashtra and told him that this is very inauspicious. You need to kill this one son of yours. You got 99. Sacrifice this one son. Because this one son, if you don't sacrifice this one son, he's going to sacrifice your whole lineage. He's going to kill everyone. So because Dhritarashtra was attached, he could not accept that. And we know history, what had happened. Duryodhan practically destroyed the whole Kuru dynasty. So Vidura is warning Dhritarashtra. In the purport, Prabhupada says a good son is called apatya, one who does not allow his father to fall down. The son can protect the father's soul when the father is dead by offering sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This system is still prevalent in India. After the death of his father, a son goes to offer sacrifices at the lotus feet of Vishnu at Gaya, and thus delivers the father's soul if the father is fallen. But if the son is already an enemy of Vishnu, how in such an inimical mood can he offer sacrifice unto the lotus feet, unto Lord Vishnu's lotus feet? So, fair point. This offering of Shraddha to deliver the forefathers, this is there in the Vedic system. And it's about pleasing the Supreme Lord. And if you are an enemy of the Lord, well, then you can't deliver your forefathers. Lord Krishna is directly the personality of God and Vishnu, and Duryodhan was inimical to him. He would therefore be unable to protect his father Dhritarashtra after his death. He himself was to fall down because of this faithlessness towards Vishnu. How then could he protect his father? Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to get rid of such an unworthy son as Duryodhan as soon as possible if he was at all anxious to see the good of his family. So this system of offering to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu is there in Gaia. It's a long story of Gaia Sur, the demon Gaia. Gaia Sur, this demon, was an intelligent demon. He performed great severe austerities to please the Lord. And when the Lord was pleased with him, the Lord asked, what benediction do you want? Now we know most demons, they would ask, like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, all these demons, make me immortal, make me powerful, I can't be killed, in these different ways, etc. Make me opulent. So demons, they ask all these material benefits. But Gayasur, he was such a powerful, such an intelligent demon. So he asked the Lord that you give me the benediction that whoever sees me get liberated. So he got the benediction. And when everybody heard this, they thought, wow, far out, wonderful, let's go see Gayasur. So they all came to see a demon. And as soon as they came to see a demon, they got liberated. They went back to the spiritual world, they got liberated. And one by one, the universe was getting empty. Because everybody wanted to come see Gayasur. Just by seeing him, they get liberated. Yamaraj was feeling threatened. His job was on the line. He was going to get retrenched. There was no living entities coming to hell now. So there was a problem. And the demigods, they went to Vishnu and they're trying to make arrangements. Eventually, they found a solution. Lord Vishnu told Lord Brahma, and you tell Gayasur that you want to perform a great sacrifice, and you can't find a platform. And if he could become the platform to perform the sacrifice. So in this way, he accepted, became the platform for the fire sacrifice, and they tried to keep him down like that. But even that wasn't working, and then eventually Lord Vishnu stepped on Gayasur and kept him down. So that footprint of Lord Vishnu is there in Gaia. And when the Lord pressed him down, that place became known as Gayasur. Therefore, this place is called after him, Gaia. And the Lord gave him the benediction that anyone who performs offering to me here in Gayasur, they will deliver their forefathers. So that's why it's one of the places where devotees, people go to offer Pinda offering to the Lord. Now, for devotees, the Lord takes care also. There's a beautiful story, beautiful pastime of one of the associates of Lord Chaitanya, Govinda Ghosh. There was Govinda Ghosh, Madhava Ghosh, and Vasudev Ghosh. These were three brothers. And in the spiritual world, these three brothers, they were gopis that would sing for Radha and Krishna. So they appeared as the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, and they would also sing for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it is described then when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the singing of these three brothers, Govinda Ghosh, Madhava Ghosh, and Vasudev Ghosh, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go into ecstasy. Now, Govinda Ghosh, he was a brahmachari. And when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling, Govinda Ghosh would also travel with him and serve him as a brahmachari. And it is described that one time Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was having lunch, and Govinda Ghosh was serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had overeaten. And Lord Mahaprabhu asked Govinda Ghosh, can you please get Harikati? Hariketi. Hariketi was like a herb for digestion. So then Govinda Ghosh went Madhukari begging for this Hariketi. And he then got, and he came and he gave that to Srila Mahaprabhu. The next day, Srila Mahaprabhu also had overeaten, and for digestion, he asked Govinda Ghosh, can you please get some Hariketi? And within moments, he presented some Hariketi. And Srila Mahaprabhu said, but yesterday, you had spent like 30 minutes going out, and then you came after some time and you gave me Hariketi. How come you're able to give me Hariketi now, just like in full moments? And Govinda Ghosh said, my Lord, yesterday I had collected more, and I knew that because it took so long, so I knew that you're going to may need it again, and therefore I had some stock. I kept some. When Srila Mahaprabhu heard this, Srila Mahaprabhu said that because you had hoarded Hariketi, you are not qualified to be a brahmachari. Go and get married. Brahmachari does not hoard. He just depends on the Lord for his day-to-day livelihood, like a sannyasi. So Srila Mahaprabhu told Govinda Ghosh to get married. So then immediately he was obviously very disheartened that, my Lord, how can I leave you? And the Lord Mahaprabhu told Govinda Ghosh, don't worry, because you are attached to Krishna, just like you are serving me directly, I will always be with you. And even as a Grihastha, you'll be able to serve me. So don't worry. So then he goes and he gets married and he gets a son. It's a long story, so I won't go into what happened to his son, but his wife died very early in his marriage, in his life, and his son also died. So what happened one time before his son died was Govinda Ghosh was bathing in the Ganges. And all of a sudden, while he was bathing, a rock, like a Shila, came and hit him on the back. And then he took the Shila that hit him and just threw it on the bank. And then that evening when he came home in his dream, Srila Mahaprabhu appeared to him and I said, I came to you. And I came to you in the form of the Shila. And I want you to go get that Shila and carve a nice form for me. And next day he was in ecstasy. He went to go take that Shila, non different from the Lord. And he made a beautiful deity of Krishna out of that. If you go to Google, just Google Gopinath, Govinda Ghosha's deity, and you'll see such a beautiful, beautiful eyes, lotus, holding a flute, Tribhanga deity of Krishna. Now, this deity would reciprocate with Govinda Ghosh. And when his son died, he was very heartbroken. And this deity started speaking to Govinda Ghosh and said, why are you so heartbroken? And Govinda Ghosh said that Gopinath, my wife left me early. I was serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then I was asked to leave his service. Then I got married. My wife left me early. And now my son left me. Who's going to do my final rites? Because the son, that's why we have a good son. A good son, he delivers the father. Putra, in Sanskrit, Putra means son, one who delivers the father from the hell. Pu is Putra. So Govinda Ghosh, he told Gopinath that this is my reason, this is why I'm lamenting. And Gopinath said, no, you can't accept me as your son. I'll do your rights. Don't worry. And since then, Govinda Ghosh, he had this relationship, like a parental relationship with Gopinath. He was like the father, Gopinath was like the son. And they had this relationship. Now, when Govinda Ghosh left his body, he was elderly and he left his body, and there was a priest that was doing the service. So that night, or the night before, the Lord came in this Pujari's dream, the deity, and the deity told the Pujari that tomorrow, I want you to dress me in white clothes. I don't want this ornaments and opulent. I want simple white cloth. So the next day, the deity was dressed like that. And in the village, everybody heard, because Govinda Ghosh was a great devotee. So they all were assembled there, and at the point of doing the final rites of burning the fire pyre, they wanted to know who's going to do this, because he doesn't, knows there's no son. Who's going to do this? And all of a sudden, a young, beautiful boy came, and he was so attractive. And he said, he's my father. I'm his son. I'll do the final rites. So he took the fire stick, and everyone was so attracted to this boy that they didn't even question. They just said, oh, yes, yes, wonderful. And like this, the Lord, Gopinath, he actually did the final rites for his dear devotee. And after 13 days, so after 12 days, on the 13th day, they feed the Brahmanas. So for that also, the Lord went out begging Madhukari in the village that my father, today is my 13th day father ceremony, tomorrow is my 13 days father ceremony, and I want ingredients to cook a feast so we can feed the Brahmanas, please. And when all the shop owners saw this beautiful boy, they provided so many ingredients. And the Lord had filled the temple with so many ingredients. The Pujari was shocked. And they cooked a big feast, and they served the feast. So it's described that even up to today, in this village where Govinda Ghosh was staying, on the anniversary day, it's basically 1 week after Gaurpunim, it is described that they have the ceremony. They bring the deity out, and they perform the pinda and cook a big feast, and they serve the Vaishnavas. So even today, the ceremony goes on. So here we see the Lord personally serving his devotee, performing the final rites. So for a devotee, we simply have to become attached to Krishna. We have to become dear to Krishna. Like yesterday, last week we read, we noticing Krishna and acknowledging Krishna is good. It's one thing. But for Krishna to acknowledge and notice us and accept us, that's what we want. From our side, we're accepting Krishna. But we are waiting for that day when Krishna accepts us. That's the moment we want. Because then Krishna will take care of whatever we need. There's no anxiety. According to the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit, What is the use of a son who is neither a learned man nor a devotee of the Lord? If a son is not a devotee of the Lord, he's just like blind, he is just like blind eyes, a source of trouble. A physician may sometimes advise the extrication of such useless eyes from their sockets so that one can be relieved of the constant trouble. Duryodhan was exactly like blind trouble eyes. He would be a source of great trouble to the family of Dhritarashtra, as foreseen by Vidura. Vidura therefore rightly advised his eldest brother to get rid of this source of trouble. Dhritarashtra was wrongly maintaining such personified offense under the mistaken impression that Duryodhan was a good son, able to liberate his father. It's interesting here that Vidura is recommending this type of, he's giving this request to Dhritarashtra. And this was the Vedic system, that I can sacrifice an evil person that's going to destroy and cause inconceivable harm. Because you could question, he's just born, he hasn't done anything. And people will say, he's a child, he's innocent. But from the omens, we could appreciate and understand that is not innocence. And the wise can see that. So, because Vidura could see that, as a good counselor, he was able to prescribe even the death penalty for a child for the protection and upliftment of the rest. But Dhritarashtra, being blind, would not accept. 14. Ityuchivam statra sudo dhanenam pravriddalkopa spuritadarena asatkrita sat sprihaniya shilam shatta sankarananuja sobalena. While speaking thus, Vidura, whose personal character was esteemed by the respectable persons, was insulted by Duryodhan, who was swollen with anger and whose lips were trembling. Duryodhan was in company with Karna, his younger brothers, and maternal uncle Shakuni. Prabhupada's purport. It is said that giving good counsel to a foolish person causes the fool to become angry, just as feeding milk to a snake only increases its venomous poison. Saint Vidura was so honorable that his character was looked up to by all respectable persons. But Duryodhan was so foolish that he dared to insult Vidura. This was due to his bad association with Shakuni, his maternal uncle, as well as with his friend Karna, who always encouraged Duryodhan in his nefarious acts. An example of bad association influencing Duryodhan as well, just like Mantara influencing Kaikai. So for Duryodhan, unfortunately, even though he was of a bad personality, he had more negative influence that basically reinforced his negative behavior. And therefore, he could not appreciate Vidura's respectable position and wisdom, and he became even more poisonous and started to insult Vidura. 15. Paenam atropaju avajimam dasya sutam yad balin nevas pushta tasmin pratipa parakritya aste nirvas yatam ashu purach shwas sana, who asked him to come here, the son of a kept mistress. He is so crooked that he spies in the interest of the enemy against those on whose support he has given up. Toss him out of the palace immediately and leave him with only his breath. Purport. When getting married, the Kshatriya kings would take several other young girls along with the married princess. These girl attendants of the king were known as dasis, or attendant mistresses. By intimate association with the king, the dasis would get sons. Such sons were called dasiputras. They had no claim to a royal position, but they would get maintenance and other facilities just like princes. Vidura was the son of such a dasi, and he was thus not counted amongst the Kshatriyas. King Dhritarashtra was very affectionate towards his younger Dasiputra brother, Vidura, and Vidura was a great friend and philosophical advisor to Dhritarashtra. Duryodhan knew very well that Vidura was a great soul and well-wisher, but unfortunately he used strong words to hurt his innocent uncle. Duryodhan not only attacked Vidura's birth, but also called him an infidel because he seemed to support the cause of Yudhishthira, whom Duryodhan considered his enemy. He desired that Vidura be immediately put out of the palace and deprived of all his possessions. If possible, he would have liked him caned until he was left with nothing but his breath. He charged that Vidura was a spy of the Pandavas because he advised King Dhritarashtra in their favor. Such is the situation of palace life and the intricacies of diplomacy that even a faultless person like Vidura could be charged with something abominable and punished. Vidura was struck with wonder at such unexpected behavior from his nephew Duryodhan, and before anything actually happened, he decided to leave the palace for good. So Vidura naturally did not appreciate the response, and he knew just from the response that he's not welcome there, and it will just get worse and worse. And therefore, externally, Vidura, understanding the situation, decided to leave on his own. At the same time, understanding the deeper intent, he took advantage of this opportune moment. 16. So itam at yulbana karna baner bratu puro marmashu taditopi swayam danur dwari nidan yamayayam mayam gatavyato yad uru manayana, thus been pierced by the arrows through his ears and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. So now we're hearing Vidura's processing, how he processed this specific event. And Srila Prabhupada breaks this down. A pure devotee of the Lord is never perturbed by an awkward position created by the external energy of the Lord. So this is the understanding. And last week also we discussed this point. The deeper one is in Krishna consciousness, just like the deeper one goes into the ocean, One will not experience even the tsunamis on top of the ocean. Naturally, if you're on the ocean, even simple waves will disturb you. But the deeper you go, the less disturbance there will be. So therefore, pure devotee, because he's deep in Krishna, because he's absorbed in Krishna, then he's not perturbed by the awkward positions created by the external energy. And because he's not disturbed, he's able to process the events in a way that is favorable for his Krishna consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita 3:27, it is stated, Prakrite kriyamanani gune karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. The conditioned soul is absorbed in material existence under the influence of the different modes of external energy. Absorbed in the false ego, he thinks that he is doing everything by himself. The external energy of the Lord, the material nature, is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord, and thus the conditioned soul is fully under the grip of the external energy. Therefore, the conditioned soul is fully under the control of the law of the Lord. But due to illusion only, he thinks himself independent in his activities. Duryodhana was acting under such influence of the external energy by which he would be vanquished by at the ultimate end. So because the devotee understands that the material energy is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord, the external energy, any event that is manifested by the agency of the external energy cannot be independent. It is also fully under the control and sanction of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, a pure devotee understanding this, that this is what the Lord wants. Why? He has his reasons to teach others, this is the material world, etc. So many reasons. But because I, as a devotee or the pure devotee thinks, because I'm able to see this and I'm also witnessing this effect of the material energy, which is sanctioned by the Supreme Lord, I should not become disturbed. I should understand this is what the Lord desires, and therefore I should take advantage and see a deeper in meaning or deeper direction that the Lord is wanting me to take through these events. So it requires a deeper level of Krishna consciousness to see the hand of the Lord in such events. He could not accept the sound advice of Vidura, but on the contrary, he insulted that great soul, who was a well-wisher of his whole family. Vidura could understand this because he was a pure devotee of the Lord. In spite of being very strongly insulted by Duryodhana's words, Vidura could see that Duryodhana, under the influence of Maya, the external energy, was making progress on the path towards his own ruination. He therefore considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. Yet, he also saw how the internal energy of the Lord helped him in that particular situation. So he was protected by the internal energy. At the same time, he is witnessing the influence of the external energy. So this is how the Lord is able to protect his pure devotees, by giving them a deeper insight, by protecting them, by shielding them through the internal potency. And the Lord may do this in different ways. In some cases, completely shield and protect from influence, negative influence. In some cases, give them specific direction. In some cases, to allow them to go deeper. So in so many ways, the Lord directs his devotee. A devotee is always in a renounced temperament because the worldly attractions can never satisfy him. Vidura was never attracted by the royal palace of his brother. He was always ready to leave the palace and devote himself completely to the transcendent loving service of the Lord. Now he got the opportunity by the grace of Duryodhan. And instead of being sorry at the strong words of insults, he thanked him. He thanked him from within because it gave him a chance to live alone in a holy place and fully engage in devotional service of the Lord. So first point is that a devotee knows that worldly attractions are never satisfying. Therefore, a devotee is engaged in the world, but with a renounced temperament. We are using the facilities of the world, but in a detached spirit. We serving in our situation, but with a detached spirit, because we understand the nature, the temporary nature of this world, temporary nature of everything. Whereas a materialist, he practically becomes insanely attached to the facilities, to the assets, to his family members, to situations, to the resources, to fame, prestige. He becomes attached to these things, and this is what causes the pain and ultimately the ruination. So Vidura, he was serving in a detached spirit, and naturally, as a devotee, he would be happy to serve the Lord 24 hours a day, no problem. So this opportune moment came, and immediately seeing it by the mercy of the Lord, he took advantage of it. The word gata vyata, without being sorry, is significant here because Vidura was relieved from the tribulations which trouble every man entangled in material activities. He therefore thought that there is no need to defend my brother with his bow because his brother was meant for ruination. Thus he left the palace before Duryodhan could act. Maya, the supreme energy of the Lord, acted here both internally and externally. So yes, he was not sorry. Negative events, when one looks later at the negative events, one can see, wow, that negative event actually made me Krishna conscious. That negative activity actually led me to become more Krishna conscious. At that point in the turmoil, it seemed like a negative situation. Now, sometimes it may happen that you are in a negative situation and you don't see Krishna's hand. And you go with the flow in terms of how you're reacting. And then later, when you turn back and you see, wow, that was Krishna's arrangement. So, like that, also, situations can happen. I remember when I joined the Hillbrook Temple, then Trivangasundar Prabhu, the devotee that was running the restaurant, the one day, there was some challenge and he handed the keys to Trivangasundar Prabhu, says, there's your keys. I'm not running the restaurant from tomorrow. And we knew we were going to get customers. So then Trivangasundar Prabhu came to myself and Madhuri and said, here is the keys, you people running the restaurant tomorrow. And we didn't know how to run a restaurant, but Trivangasundar said, no problem, we'll help it, coach us and we'll learn and we'll say. So that's what we did. So eventually, at one point, Trivangasundar Prabhu left and we were still running the restaurant. And at that point, we were then accused of stealing. So then when I was accused of stealing, then I thought this is unfair. But it so happened that we went to Vrindavan. Then we came back to Durban. And then we came back to Joburg, and I was the temple president. And when I joined, I always had the desire to study and teach Prabhupada's books. But I never had the time to study and teach Prabhupada's books. So when I went to India after this event, then we went to Kamyavan, and in Kamyavan we prayed. I prayed, that hope I can study and teach Prabhupada's books. Then we came to Durban, and I came back in the same situation now as the president, and now I could study and teach Prabhupada's books. So it seemed like it was a negative event, negative situation, but that negative situation got me to study and teach Prabhupada's books. So this way, at that point, I could not see Krishna's hands. But then later, I could see, just see how Krishna made an arrangement. So like that. And the more one becomes Krishna conscious, then one can see the hand of Krishna immediately. Or let's say it takes one quicker to see Krishna's hands. Here, Vidura, he could immediately see Krishna's hands. Krishna's making an arrangement for him. So immediately he took advantage of that situation. 17. Sanirgata Kaurava Punyalabdo Gaja Vayatirtapada Padanim Anvakramat Punya Chikir. So Yorvyam Dush Dish Tito Yani Sahasramurti. By his piety, Vidura achieved the advantages of the pious Kauravas. After leaving Hastinapur, he took shelter of many places of pilgrimage, which are the Lord's lotus feet, with a desire to gain a high order of family life. A high order of pious life. He traveled to holy places where thousands of transcendental forms of the Lord are situated. Purport. Vidura was undoubtedly a highly elevated and pious soul. Otherwise, he would not have taken his birth in the Kaurava family. He was high parentage, to possess wealth. To have high parentage, to possess wealth, to be highly learned, and to have a great personal beauty are all due to past pious acts. But such pious possessions are not sufficient for obtaining the grace of the Lord and being engaged in his transcendental loving service. Vidura considered himself less pious, and therefore he decided to travel to all the great places of pilgrimage in the world in order to achieve greater piety and advance nearer to the Lord. At that time, Lord Krishna was personally present in the world, and Vidura could have at once approached him directly, but he did not do so because he was not sufficiently freed from sin. One cannot be 100% devoted to the Lord unless and until he is completely freed from all effects of sin. Vidura was conscious that by the association of the diplomatic Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, he had lost his piety and was therefore not fit to associate at once with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, this is confirmed in the following verse. So the first point, before we move on, is that we have a pious bank account. And this pious bank account gives one high parentage, wealth, education, and beauty. But there is also a spiritual pious account where all spiritual activities rewards gives you spiritual piety. Bhakti on yeah. forgot the Sanskrit, Bhakti on Sukriti, right? The devotional Sukriti, devotional credits. Whereas piety is material pious credits. So any spiritual activity that we render increases our spiritual bank account, which brings us closer to the Supreme Lord. Now, here it's described that Vidura, because of his association, felt that he had to purify himself further to be able to then associate with the Lord. So he took that internally to say, I need to travel, and in this way, I'll be able to purify my life, gain more piety, which can then allow me to personally associate with the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada is making a point that one cannot be 100% devoted to the Lord unless and until he's completely freed from all effects of sin. So this is why Cheto Darpana Marjanam, this is why constant, regular devotional service is key, because we need to cleanse all the impurities. As long as there's impurities of different types in our heart, the effects of sin is there. We cannot 100% serve the Lord. That is the obstacle. Sometimes we may question, what's preventing me from rendering 100% service to the Supreme Lord? So it is the impurities. These are the impurities that stop us. Therefore, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, therefore cleansing has to be there. And the more we cleanse, the more we will serve and surrender. When we completely cleansed, there's full service and surrender. Yesam tva antagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam dhridavrata. A persons who are sinful asuras like Kamsa and Jarasan cannot think of the Lord as the Supreme Personality of God at the absolute truth. Only those who are pure devotees, those who follow the regular principles of religious life as prescribed in scriptures, are able to engage themselves in karma yoga and then jnana yoga, and thereafter by pure meditation, they can understand pure consciousness. When God consciousness is developed, one can take advantage of the association of pure devotees. Syan Mahat Sevaya Viprapunyar Tirtha Nishevanat. One is able to associate with the Lord even during the existence of this life. Places of pilgrimage are meant for eradication of sins of the pilgrims, and they are distributed all over the universe just to give facility to all concerned for attaining pure existence in God realization. Pure devotees, whenever they travel, like Srila Prabhupada traveling, he transforms places wherever he puts his lotus feet into places of pilgrimage. So not only does the Lord manifest places of pilgrimage according to his pastimes all across the world, but even pure devotees, as they travel, they transform places into holy places of pilgrimage. And when we visit these places, we become purified. At the same time, here Vidura left for visiting all the places of pilgrimage. Now, the question would be, why is it healthy to visit the places of pilgrimage alone? Why is it healthy to visit places of pilgrimage alone? Intensify spiritual focus, Good. Any others? Connect more deeply when you have no attachment. You can focus on your purpose of being there. Good. Yes. When you with others, then there's distraction, there's chatting, uh, you have other people to be concerned about. But when you alone, especially in places of pilgrimage, the atmosphere is spiritually surcharged. And because you're alone, you get more more focused time to go in, to be introspective. So Vidura took advantage of that. He was able to travel, and because he was alone, no problem in terms of sleeping, eating, very detached, and he could become more and more introspective. One should not be satisfied, however, merely by visiting the place of pilgrimage and performing one's prescribed duties. You should be eager to meet the great souls who are already there engaged in the service of the Lord. In each and every place of pilgrimage, the Lord is present in his various transcendental forms. These forms are called archamurtis, or forms of the Lord, which can be easily appreciated by the common man. The Lord is transcendental to our mundane senses. He cannot be seen with our present eyes, nor can he be heard with our present ears. To the degree that we have entered into the service of the Lord, or in proportion to how much our lives are freed from sins, we can perceive the Lord. To the degree that we have entered into the service of the Lord, or in proportion to how much our lives are freed from sins, we can perceive the Lord. So the more we want to perceive the Lord, the more we should want to purify our lives. The best way to purify our life is hearing and chanting and serving the Lord. So that is why we want to become more and more attached to his activities. We want to engage in his activities more and more, because by engaging in these activities, one is we are engaging in the constitution of the soul. We're doing what we're going to do eternally. That's the one benefit. Secondly, we're doing it in the initial stages of sadhana bhakti for purification, because it is the purification that's going to lead to perceiving the Lord. It's going to be the purification that's going to lead to interacting with the Lord. Therefore, I want to become attached, become so conducive to rendering service for this purpose. But even though we are not free from sins, the Lord is kind enough to allow us the facility of seeing him in his Archamurti in the temple. Sometimes people may say, why does the Lord appear in the Archa Vigraha? Because this is the mercy of the Lord. Because of our sins, we cannot perceive the Lord. And therefore, the Lord mercifully appears in Archa Vigraha so that we can see him. We can interact with him. We can serve him. The Lord is all powerful and therefore is able to accept our service by presentation of his archer form. No one therefore should foolishly think the archer in the temple to be an idol. Such an archer murti is not an idol but the Lord himself. And in proportion to how much one is free from sins, he is able to know the significance of the archer murti. The guidance of a pure devotee is therefore always required. So we see how Bob is emphasizing this point. It is really the sins and the effects of sins that's protecting or shielding or covering us from the Supreme Lord. In the land of Bharat-Varsh, there are many hundreds and thousands of places of pilgrimage distributed all over the country, and by traditional practice, the common man visits such holy places during all seasons of the year. Some of the archer representations of the Lord situated in different places of pilgrimage are mentioned here with the Lord is present at Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, as Adikeshav. The Lord is present at Puri, Orissa, as Lord Jagannath, also known as Purushottama. He is present at Allahabad, Prayag, as Bindu Madhava. At Mandara Hill, he is present at Madhusudan. In Anandaranya, he is known as Vasudev, Padmanabha, and Janardhan. At Vishnu Kanchi, he is known as Vishnu. And at Mayapur, he is known as Hari. There are millions and billions of such archer forms of the Lord distributed all over the universe. All these archer murtis are summarized in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the following words. Sarvata Prakashatandra Banke Sukha Dite Jagatera Adharmanashi Dharmastapite. The Lord has so distributed himself all over the universe just to give pleasure to the devotees, to give the common man facility to eradicate his sins, and to establish religious principles in the world. So what's interesting in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, whenever there's a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of irreligion, I descend myself to protect the devotees, to annihilate the miscreants, and to reestablish religious principles. So the Supreme Lord appears for these three reasons, and the Archer Vigra also has the same purpose. Sarvata Prakashatandra Bhakte Sukha Dite Jagatera Adharma Nashi Dharma Stapite. So the Lord also appears to protect the devotees, give pleasure to the devotees, to give common men, to eradicate sins, and then to establish religious principles. 18. Pureshu punyo pavanadri kunjeswa apankat toyesu sharit shaharashu ananta lingai samalan kriteshu chacharatir yataneshu yataneshwananya. He began to travel alone, thinking only of Krishna. Through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dwarka, and Mathura, he traveled where the air, hill, orchids, rivers, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorated where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus he performed the pilgrimage. Thus he performed the pilgrim's progress. These archer forms of the Lord may be considered idols for the atheists, but that does not matter for the persons like Vidura or his many other servants. The forms of the Lord are mentioned here as Ananta Linga. Such forms of the Lord have unlimited potency, same as that of the Lord himself. There is no difference between the potency of the archer and those of the personal form of the Lord. And in our experience, we notice it's like if you have a temple or a center without deities, there's a different potency than if you have deities, especially installed deities, because of the service that is rendered there, but more so because the Lord is there. So the potency is definitely different. The energy is different. And here Prabhupada is making very clear that these Archer Vigra, because they're non-different from the Lord, they have unlimited potency. So we should be able to appreciate and tap into that mercy. The example of the post box and the post office may be applied here. The little post boxes distributed all over the city have the same potency as the postal system in general. The duty of the post office is to carry letters from one place to another. If one puts letters in the post box, in post box authorized by the General Post Office, the function of carrying letter is performed without a doubt. Similarly, the Archamurti can also deliver the same unlimited potency of the Lord as when he is personally present. Vidura, therefore, could see nothing but Krishna in different Archa forms, and ultimately he was able to realize Krishna alone and nothing else. 19. Gamparyatan Medya Vivikta Vriti Sada Plutoda Sanayovad Dutam Alakshita Swair Avaduta Vesho Vratani Chere Harito Shanani. While so traversing the earth, he simply performed duties to please the Supreme Lord Hari. His occupation was pure and independent. He was constantly sanctified by taking his bath in holy places, although he was in the dress of a mendicant and had no head dressing nor a bed on which to lie. Thus, he was always unseen by his various relatives. The first and foremost duty of a pilgrim is to satisfy the Supreme Lord Hari. While traveling as a pilgrim, one should not be worried about pleasing society. There is no need to depend on social formalities or occupation or dress. One should remain always absorbed in the function of pleasing the Lord. Thus, sanctified by thought and action, one is able to realize the Supreme Lord by the progress of a pilgrim's journey. 20. Itam Rajan Bharatam Eva Varsham Kale Nayavad Gatavan Prabhasham Tavat Chashasa Shitim Ekachakram Eka Tapatram Ajitena Paratam. Thus, when he was in the land of Bharatavarsha, traveling to all the places of pilgrimage, he visited Prabhashetra. At that time, Yudhishthir was the emperor, and he held the world under one military strength and one flag. More than 5,000 years ago, while Saint Vidura was traveling on the earth as a pilgrim, India was known as Bharatvarsh, as it is known even today. The history of the world cannot give any systematic account for more than 3,000 years into the past. But before that, the whole world was under the flag and military strength of Yudhishthir, who was the emperor of the world. At present, there are hundreds and thousands of flags flapping in the United Nations. But during the time of Vidura, there was, by the grace of Ajita, the Lord Krishna, only one flag. The nations of the world are very eager to again have one state under one flag. But for this, they must seek the favor of Lord Krishna, who alone can help us become one worldwide nation. So, having one purpose, one flag, cannot be done with a materially motivated agenda of exploitation, of control, of power. Having one flag can only be done under the blessing and the favor of the Supreme Lord. That all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. And a king like Yudhishthira Maharaj understood that he was a representative of the Supreme Lord. He was the servant of the Supreme Lord. And as the emperor, he's meant to facilitate and engage and help all souls in relation to Krishna, not exploit, but to protect and to direct. So he was rightly situated, and therefore he was able to guide. In today's world, if the leaders are not Krishna conscious, if the leaders are not devotees of the Lord, they cannot understand, even though the desire to have one flag, to be united, to work for humanity, those principles may be there, but they do not know how to apply it because their motives may not be pure, as in the case of Yudhishthira Maharaj. 21. Tatra tasur shushrava surit vinashtim vanam yatha venuja vani samshrayam sams samsparatyaya dagdam athanushochan sar sarasvatim pratyag ihayatushnim. At the place of pilgrimage at Prabhasha, it came to his knowledge that all his relatives had died due to violent passion, just as an entire forest burns due to fire produced by friction of bamboos. After this, he proceeded west, where the river Saraswati flows. Both the Kauravas and the Yadavas were relatives of Vidura, and Vidura heard of their extinction due to fratricidal war. The comparison of the friction of forest bamboos to that of the passionate human society is appropriate. The whole world is compared to a forest. At any moment, there may be a flare up of fire in the forest due to friction. No one goes to the forest to set it on fire, but due only to friction between bamboos, fire takes place and burns the entire forest. Similarly, in the greater forest of worldly transactions, the fire of war takes place because of the violent passion of conditioned souls illusioned by the external energy. Such a worldly fire can be extinguished only by the water of the mercy cloud of saints, just as a forest fire can be extinguished only by rains falling from a cloud. And Srila Prabhupada's mercy is showering on the planet through the rains of his books. And whoever gets his books, whoever gets the knowledge that Prabhupada is distributing, they're able to understand, able to extinguish this forest fire and assist extinguishing the forest fire so that they can be world peace and eventually one flag. So if that's not the case and souls do not get proper direction, then they are misled by leaders who want to exploit, and the population become passionate, the population become consumers, the population basically interested in fulfilling material desires, thinking, I need to move up on the corporate ladder, I need to become wealthy, I need to become famous. And in this way, the more people move up in this direction, it just creates more and more friction in the lives of people. 22. Tasyam tritasyo shanaso manascha pritor atagner asitasya vayor tirtam sudasasya gavangu hasya yachatra devasya sa ashisheve. On the bank of the river Saraswati, there were 11 places of pilgrimage, namely Trita, Ushana, Manu, Prithu, Agni, Asita, Vayu, Sudasha, Guo, Ha, and Shraddha Deva. Vidura visited all of them and duly performed rituals. Anyani cheha dvijadeva devai kritani na yayatanani Vishnu pratyangamukyan kita mandirani yaddarshanat krishnam smaranti. When there were also many other temples of various forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, established by great sages and demigods. These temples were marked with the chief emblems of the Lord, and they reminded one always of the original personality of Godhead Lord Krishna. Human society is divided into 4 social orders of life and 4 spiritual divisions, applying to each and every individual person. The system is called Varnashram Dharma and has already been discussed in many places in this great literature. The sages or persons who completely devoted themselves to the spiritual upliftment of the entire human society were known as Dvija Deva, the best among the twice born. The denizens of superior planets, from the moon planet and upwards, were known as Devas. Both the Dvija Devas and the Devas always established temples of Lord Vishnu in his various forms, such as Govinda, Madhusudan, Shinga, Madhava, Keshava, Narayana, Padmanabha, Parthasarathi, and many others. The Lord expands himself in innumerable forms, but all of them are non-different from one another. Lord Vishnu has 4 hands, and each holds a particular item, either a conch shell, a wheel, a club, or lotus flower. Of these 4 emblems, the chakra, or the wheel, is the chief. Lord Krishna, being the original Vishnu form, has only one emblem, namely the wheel, and therefore he is sometimes called the Chakri. The Lord's Chakri is the symbol of the power by which the Lord controls the whole manifestation. The tops of Vishnu temples are marked with the symbols of the wheel so that people may have the chance to see the symbol from a very long distance and at once remember Lord Krishna. The purpose of building very high temples is to give people a chance to see them from a distant place. This system is carried on in India, where whenever a new temple is constructed, and it appears that it is coming down from a time before recorded history. Foolish propaganda by atheists that the temples were constructed only in the later days is refuted here because Vidura visited these temples at least 5,000 years ago, and the temples of Vishnu were in existence long, long before Vidura visited them. The great sages and demigods never established statues of men or demigods, but they established temples of Vishnu for the benefit of common men, to raise them to the platform of God consciousness. So very nice description. Vidura is traveling to different holy places, and all the holy places there are innumerable temples of Vishnu, of Chakri, the Lord holding the disc. And Prabhupada was making the point that the temples are built high with the chakra on top, so that people from far can see the chakra. And it's described in scripture, just by seeing the chakra offering obeisances, one becomes purified of so much sin. So this is how the Lord benefits the living entities. And this tradition is continuing. Then Prabhupada at the end makes an interesting point that the demigods and the sages in the past, they didn't create a temple and establish a personality there, like a demigod or some human being. No. They established the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, you travel around even the temple that Prabhupada built. You will not find one temple where in the center of the altar is Prabhupada. No, the center is the supreme personality of Godhead. So this is a temple. Why? To raise people to the platform of God consciousness. 24. Tatas twatir vrajya Shurastram Rudam Sovira Kuru Jangalamscha Kalena Tavad Yamunan Upetyam Tatro Davam Bhagavatam Dadarsha. Thereafter, he passed through very wealthy provinces like Surat, Sovira, and Matsya, and through western India, known as Kuru Jangala. At last, he reached the bank of the Yamuna, where he happened to meet Uddhava, the great devotee of Lord Krishna. The tract of land comprising about 100 square miles from modern Delhi to Mathura district is in Uttar Pradesh, including a portion of Gurgaon district in eastern Punjab. Punjab is considered to be the topmost place of pilgrimage in all of India. This land is sacred because Lord Krishna traveled through it many times. From the very beginning of his appearance, he was at Mathura in the house of his maternal uncle Kamsa, and he was reared by his foster father Maharaj Nanda at Vrindavan. There, are still many devotees of the Lord lingering there in ecstasy in search of Krishna and his childhood associates, the gopis. It is not that such devotees meet Krishna face to face in the tract of land, but a devotee is eagerly searching after Krishna is as good as seeing him personally. How this is so cannot be explained, but it is factually realized by those who are pure devotees of the Lord. Philosophically, one can understand that Lord Krishna and his remembrance are on the absolute plane, and that the very idea of searching for him at Vrindavan in pure God consciousness gives more pleasure to the devotee than seeing him face to face. Such devotees of the Lord see him face to face at every moment, as confirmed in the Brahma Samhita. Premam jana churita bhakti vilochanena Shanta Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achinta Guna Swarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Those who are in ecstasy of love with the personality of Godhead, Lord Shamasundar Krishna, see him always in their hearts due to love and devotional service rendered to the Lord. Both Vidura and Uddhava were such elevated devotees, and therefore they both came to the bank of the Yamuna and met each other. Banturaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Go Pramanande. So next week we will continue hearing about the meeting of these two great souls, and then we will continue hearing about Vidura's journey, and finally him meeting Maitreya Muni, and then the questions that he had asked. Vidura is now meeting Uddhava. Uddhava was the only Yadava that was sent to Vrindavan. And we know in the Krishna book, this journey is described. Uddhava was thinking he will go and teach the residents of Vrindavan about love. He went in as a teacher and came out as a student. So this was Krishna's mercy upon him. And Vidura, no doubt, was in ecstasy meeting. They both were in ecstasy meeting each other, understanding and realizing that they both are in love with Krishna. And therefore their meeting was ecstatic. And Vidura then continues his journey. All right, we'll take any questions or comments. Hemavati Nalinikanta says, wonderful lessons we learned from Vidura, highlighted so expertly. Srila Prabhupada explained so nicely by you. Thank you, Prabhu and Mother Madhuri, for these beautiful lessons, slides, and art. We sincerely appreciate your time and effort. Thank you very much. Hari 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 Bol. Thank you very much for your feedback. Shamananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu Maharaj, thanks for sharing the pastimes of Govinda Ghosh and Gaya Sura. Really amazing pastimes of Vidura, showing by example how to go about dealing in this world and ultimately get closer to the Lord. Powerful purpose by Srila Prabhupada, yes. And this should also be, to some degree, our desire. Like Vidura was, serving in the palace, and as time was ticking, there came an opportune moment. He took advantage of that to go closer to the Supreme Lord. So like that, we also should not die working, should not die fully engrossed in material life. We should also have a desire and a plan that we can also focus as time is ticking, we can also focus and become more absorbed in service and remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All right. Thank you very much. for everyone's comments and feedback. Mother Lesa, Hare Krishna, thank you for the question. I feel my consciousness has expanded listening to the way Vidura looks at everything. Yes. At least we should know that there are deeper perspectives that we could get. And here's another aspect in regards to this point. Even if there is no deeper perspective, like this is the material nature and that's it, there's no deeper reason for Krishna. If we can pick up a deeper reason to become more attached to Krishna, then that is a blessing anyway. So if we're cultivating that type of mentality, then we're always able to see the good in every situation, and that good is in relation to becoming Krishna conscious. That good is in relation to becoming more attached to Krishna. So like that, every situation then can really be a blessing. Profana says, interesting point made about purifying forefather system that Dhritarashtra's father hoped his son Duryodhana was living to fulfill. It's an African system that at least each year one makes sacrifice to honor his forefathers for purity and their elevation. Do you find any commonality to this practice? Yes. And we'll see not only this practice, you'll see it may be in different pieces and parts in different cultures. But yes, in terms of helping ancestors, this is there. Even cow protection, you'll find this there. So because Bharatvarsh was one tract, one land controlled by Yudhishthira, the remnants of Vedic tradition and culture is all across the world. Therefore, you will find the remnants of Vedic culture and aspects of Krishna consciousness across the globe in different perspectives, in different percentages, and in different areas. But yes, this is how it is linking. It's just that because over time, when the Vedic culture is not propagated, then whatever culture is now coming through will incorporate and then change that according to time. So that's how you get different permutations and changes to the different original rituals and practices that are there. But you definitely find remnants of this. When did Vidura know about the potential if Duryodhana as blind eye source of trouble? Right at the time of his birth. Why? Because he could see the omens. And we will see that even when the Lord ascended to the spiritual world, Yudhishthira, the Pandavas, they saw omens. So negative signs are present when there's evil influence. So when the 100 sons were born, it's described that there was evil, negative influences, jackals howling, deities crying, things like that. Storms, inauspicious birds flying, different things like that you would see, different noises. And Vidura would perceive that when Duryodhana and brothers were being born, and especially when Duryodhana was born, it was evil, meaning somebody very evil is entering. Prabhupada in one purport also says that whenever there is a natural disaster, it's a sign that a demonic person has taken birth on the planet. So negative energy influences the planet and therefore negative effects on the weather, etc. So that's how Vidura knew. All right, wonderful. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gopramanande, Hari Hari Bol. We will meet next week and continue with Vidura's journey.